What is going on, everyone? So in this week's video, I want to talk a little bit more about my day 2 video of my trip to Death Valley. And for those of you that have watched that video, you'll see that I was kind of tough on myself that day as far as I didn't feel like I was being productive. I didn't feel like I had found any subjects of any value. I felt like I was just a chicken running around with its head chopped off. I was just struggling to keep up with everything that was going around me because it was raining pretty hard for the middle part of the day. It was a very kind of gentle rain in the beginning in the morning. And then as we got closer towards the afternoon, the storm started to clear out. And that's where it was particularly difficult because there are so many kind of beautiful things going on in every direction. But by the time I would get the camera set up, the conditions would change. It didn't look anything like it used to be. But then there's an area a little further down the road that started looking pretty good. So I just ended up kind of chasing things the whole day, which is really difficult to do when you're so slow to react. And so if you kind of compare the way I was feeling that day and the way I was kind of chasing the light and trying to find anything to point my camera at to the end result of that day. So if you guys watched the video, you saw me kind of struggling throughout the day and kind of not being very optimistic about the photos I had shot. But then at the very end of that video, you see the 3 photos I shot, and some of them actually turned out pretty darn good. But I did not know that in the moment. I didn't know that. I had no clue. And actually I had, for the first probably 3 days of the trip, I didn't think I had really captured anything of any value. And it actually ends up being kind of an important sort of motivating factor. And you'll see that as we get towards day 3 and especially day 4 of this trip, because it kind of motivated me to work even harder. And that resulted in some even better work. And it was actually day 4 of my trip that I shot probably my favorite photo of the entire trip. And that was a result of all the struggles I'd gone through in day 2. And also there's some stuff that happened on day 3. But those videos will come out in a couple weeks. But for those of you guys that are not familiar with shooting large format, I just want to talk briefly about some of the challenges of shooting large format in these situations. First of all, the cameras are pretty slow to set up. So if you see something that looks really good, it takes a while to get the camera set up, get everything set. And even once you have the composition set, now you have to meter the scene, figure out which film you want to use, load the film holder. And once you put the film holder in the camera, you no longer have a viewfinder. So there'll be moments like the 3rd photo that I shot that day where it was the clearing storm. I found a scene that looked pretty good, set up the camera. It didn't take me too long to do. I was set up maybe like 10, 12 feet from my truck. I was just like on the side of the road. But I set up the composition, that was all fine. Put the film holder in, and then I'm metering the scene because I have an external light meter. But I'm metering the scene to try to figure out what my exposure should be, if I should use a grad filter, all that stuff. And as I'm doing that, the clouds are changing, the light's changing it, and then by the time I finally figure out what I want to use as far as an exposure, the entire scene probably looked a little bit different. And I shot several photos of that scene, and one of them, the one I actually used in the video, it turned out pretty good. It was one of my favorite shots from that day. But the photo taken just after that looked completely different because the clouds had completely changed because things were moving so fast. But basically what I wanted to say is that even though I was kind of down on myself that day and it was a difficult day, I was kind of working on autopilot. I knew what would work pretty well based on experience. And even though I didn't think very much of the work I had done that day, turns out I'd actually produced some pretty strong work, which honestly, I was really surprised when I saw the film for the first time when I did the film reveal video. But this also does play into day 3 and day 4 of the videos where since I didn't think I had anything so far from the trip that was of any value, it motivated me to work even harder, which I think is one of the reasons why it was this trip that I actually had a very high keeper rate as far as a number of shots that would be considered portfolio grade, because it made me work harder and that hard work really paid off. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you around next week. I was fighting that sneeze the whole time.